Hello there, and welcome to the Sleeping Science channel. Tonight we'll drift through the quiet architecture of the ocean's deepest reach, a place where the water is heavy with history, and the earth holds the sea in a long, unbroken embrace. It is a journey into the Marianas, the profound trench that carves a scar of silence into the crust of our world, offering a sanctuary of shadow where the chaos of the surface cannot follow. Here, in the absolute vertical descent, we will find that the darkness is not empty, but full of a calm, crushing presence that anchors the planet. Perhaps the day has been full of noise, or the demands of the light have kept your mind racing across the horizontal planes of your life. Now, it is time to let those flat, frantic horizons fade away, replacing them with a slow, downward drift into a peace that has lasted for millions of years. Let your shoulders rest. Let gravity hold you as securely as the ocean holds the salt within its waves. You are safe, here, suspended in a narrative of water and weight, moving toward a stillness that exists beneath the weather, beneath the tides, and beneath the worry of the waking world. Tonight, we'll drift through the quiet laws of the deep ocean, exploring the physics of immersion and the biology of the impossible. We will witness the way the Pacific Plate dives beneath the Mariana Plate, a geological motion so slow it feels like sleep itself, curving the earth into a cradle for the dark. We will feel the weight of the water not as a burden, but as a blanket, swaddling the deepest life in a pressure that keeps it whole. It is a place where the sun is a memory, and the only light comes from the living things that swim through the eternal night. If this calm space brings you peace, consider sharing it. It helps other wandering minds find their way here too, creating a network of rest that spans the globe like the currents of the sea. But for now, there is nothing you need to do, and nowhere you need to go but down into the comfort of the blue. We are leaving the air behind, trading the thin, frantic atmosphere for the slow, dense embrace of the hydrospace. Now, let's begin. The journey starts at the surface, where the water meets the sky in a shimmering, restless boundary of light and wind. You are floating here, feeling the gentle heave of the swells as they roll across the vast emptiness of the Pacific, carrying the heat of the sun in their upper layers. The air is warm, filled with the scent of salt and the distant humidity of the tropics. But below you, the water deepens into a gradient of infinite blue. This is the roof of the cathedral, the only part of the ocean that knows the touch of the wind or the changing of the seasons. As you slip beneath the surface, the noise of the wind vanishes instantly, replaced by the muffled, rhythmic hush of the aquatic world. The transition is sudden and absolute, a crossing of a threshold from a world of flight and falling into a world of buoyancy and suspension. The light here is fractured, dancing in golden spiderwebs across the sandless deep, refracting through the chop of the waves above to create curtains of brightness that sway with the water. You feel the immediate coolness of the liquid against your skin, a refreshing shock that quickly settles into a comfortable, enveloping temperature. Gravity here feels different, less like a demand and more like a suggestion, as the water takes on the weight of your body and lifts you gently. You are no longer standing on the earth. You are held by the volume of the sea, supported by the cohesion of countless water molecules pressing against you from every side. This is the first lesson of the descent. The ocean does not pull you down. It accepts you, allowing you to sink only as fast as you are willing to let go. The frantic energy of the air is gone, and in its place is the slow, fluid resistance of a denser medium. You begin to drift downward, passing through the first 10 meters of the water column, where the pressure is barely more than the atmosphere you left behind. The light is still clear and bright, a turquoise brilliance that saturates your vision, making everything seem magnified and close. Here, the spectrum of the sun is still intact, painting the microscopic life in vivid colors, but already, the red wavelengths are struggling to penetrate the density. The water acts as a filter, stripping away the warmer tones of the spectrum, leaving only the cool, calming blues and greens to guide your way. Deeper still, the surface becomes a textured ceiling of silver, rippling far above like a sheet of hammered metal. You are entering the epipelagic zone, the sunlight zone, where the energy of the star powers the great engines of marine life. But we are merely passing through this crowded, sunlit layer, seeking the solitude that lies beneath the reach of the rays. The water feels silken as you move through it, a continuous caress that smooths away the sharp edges of the day, softening the boundaries between you and the world. As you descend past 50 meters, the light begins to change, losing its golden quality and deepening into a rich, uniform sapphire. The chaotic scattering of the surface waves no longer affects the illumination here. Instead, the light becomes diffuse, a glow that seems to emanate from the water itself rather than from above. It is a soothing, monochromatic world, where the visual noise is reduced to a single, peaceful hue. The temperature drops slightly, a cool breath on your skin that signals the departure from the solar-heated layers. And still, it turns. The planet rotates on its axis, carrying the ocean with it. But here in the deepening blue, that motion feels distant, irrelevant to the vertical path you are traveling. The currents here are broad and slow, moving vast quantities of water across the globe in a silent circulation that regulates the climate of the world. You are drifting in the arms of this global conveyor, a passenger in the liquid bloodstream of the Earth. There is no rush here, no urgency to reach the bottom, only the steady, rhythmic descent through the layers of the sea. At 100 meters, the sun is a pale disk overhead, a fading eye that watches your departure with indifference. The reds and oranges are entirely gone now, absorbed by the density of the water, leaving only the blues and violets to penetrate the gloom. The biology around you changes. The frantic, schooling fish of the surface are replaced by slower, more solitary wanderers who drift in the semi-darkness. The pressure has doubled now, a firm, even squeeze that holds you together, a physical reminder of the depth you have achieved. This is the edge of the familiar, the limit of where human breath can typically reach without aid. Beyond this point, you are entering the alien, the unknown, the realm where the ocean begins to keep its secrets. The water is clearer here, free from the churning sediments of the coast, a lens of pure liquid that extends in all directions into an endless indigo void. It is a vast inner space, a calm solitude that invites introspection, mirroring the quiet chambers of the mind when the noise of the world is shut out. You cross the thermal boundary, the thermocline, where the warm surface waters give way to the permanent chill of the deep. It feels like walking through a cool mist, a sudden drop in temperature that wakes the senses and sharpens your awareness of the isolation. The water here is denser, richer in nutrients, moving with a sluggish dignity that contrasts with the whipped-up froth of the waves miles above. This cold is not biting, it is preserving, a refrigerator for history, keeping the chemistry of the deep ocean stable for eons. The current flows without effort. It carries you past the 200-meter mark, the gateway to the mesopelagic zone, known poetically as the twilight zone. The light here is so faint it is barely a presence, a ghostly grey-blue that offers no color, only silhouette and shadow. The sun is no longer a distinct object, but a vague sense of direction, a dim memory of up that is rapidly fading. Your eyes dilate, adjusting to the gloom, seeking the faint glimmers of light that survive the journey through the water column. In this twilight, the concept of day and night begins to blur, dictated not by the rising sun, but by the vertical migration of the creatures who live here. You sense the movement of millions of small beings, zooplankton and lanternfish, who retreat to these depths during the day to hide from predators and rise only under the cover of darkness. It is the largest migration on Earth, a daily pulse of life that moves up and down like a slow, planetary heartbeat. You are drifting through this living cloud, a silent observer in the traffic of the deep. The pressure continues to build, adding another atmosphere of weight for every 10 meters you descend. It is a steady, linear accumulation of force, a hug that grows tighter and more reassuring with every minute. This pressure is not destructive. It is the condition of life here, the molding force that shapes the bodies of the residents into compact, efficient forms. You feel it settling into your bones, a grounding sensation that anchors you in the present moment, making it impossible to drift away into distraction. Around you, the first sparks of bioluminescence begin to appear, tiny pinpricks of blue and green light that flash in the deepening gloom. They are biological stars in a liquid sky, cold fire created by chemical reactions within the bodies of jellyfish and squid. These lights are not meant to illuminate the darkness, but to signal, to lure, and to hide, a language of flashes spoken in the eternal dusk. They blink on and off, like a city seen from a great height, a silent metropolis of life suspended in the void. The silence here is profound, a thick, velvet absence of sound that wraps around you. There is no wind to whistle, no waves to crash, only the occasional low-frequency hum of a distant whale or the shifting of the water itself. Sound travels faster and farther in water than in air, carrying messages across ocean basins. But here, in the local stillness, there is only peace. It is a library of quiet, where every movement is dampened, every vibration smoothed out by the density of the medium. You have reached 400 meters. The water is a deep, impenetrable violet, the very last vestige of the sun's energy. It is a color that borders on black, a threshold between the world of light and the world of shadow. The temperature has stabilized at a constant, chilly, steady state, a reminder that the deep ocean is a place of uniformity and constancy. The seasons do not reach here. The storms do not shake these waters. It is a place of permanent equilibrium, and everything softens. The edges of your vision blur into the dark, and the boundaries of your body seem to merge with the water around you. You are becoming part of the hydrospace, a fluid element moving through a fluid world. The anxiety of falling is gone, replaced by the serenity of floating, of being held in suspension between the surface and the bottom. The abyss below is not a threat, but a destination, a place of ultimate rest waiting to receive you. As you pass 600 meters, the last photon of sunlight is absorbed, extinguishing the final connection to the sky. You are now in the aphotic zone, the region where photosynthesis is impossible, where the sun has never touched and never will. From this point on, the only light you will see is the light created by life itself. The darkness is absolute, a heavy, ink-black curtain that fills the space, pressing against your eyes with a weight of its own. But this darkness is not empty. It is thick with matter. You begin to see the marine snow, the endless gentle drift of organic particles falling from the surface miles above. They are white flakes of detritus, the remnants of life from the sunlit world, drifting down like a slow-motion blizzard in the winter night. This snow is the food of the deep, the energy source that sustains the creatures of the dark. It falls continuously, a silent manna that connects the surface to the bottom, linking the two worlds in a cycle of decay and renewal. The descent slows as the water density increases slightly, the molecules packed tighter together by the immense weight of the column. Above, you are entering the realm of the midwater, the largest habitat on Earth, a volume of space so vast it defies comprehension. Here, in the open water, there are no walls, no floor, no ceiling, only the endless extension of the dark. It is a space of infinite possibility, where evolution has taken strange and wonderful turns to solve the problem of living in the void. You feel a profound sense of isolation, but it is not lonely. It is private. The world of human concerns, of deadlines and demands, is miles away, separated from you by layers of crushing water that no voice can penetrate. You are cocooned in the deep, protected by the very inhospitality of the environment. The pressure is a shield, keeping the chaos of the surface at bay, preserving this sanctuary of silence for those who are willing to descend. The rhythm of the deep endures. It pulses in the slow drift of the currents and the silent fall of the snow. You are approaching the 1,000-meter mark, the boundary of the midnight zone, the bathypelagic. Here, the water is pitch black, invisible, a void that swallows all light. The creatures here are dark red or velvety black, designed to disappear against the background, invisible ghosts in an invisible world. Their eyes are often tiny or missing entirely, for there is nothing to see but the sparks of others. The temperature hovers just above freezing, a stable, cold embrace that slows the metabolism of everything it touches. Life here moves in slow motion, conserving energy in a world where food is scarce and precious. There is no sprinting, no rushing, only the patient wait for a meal to drift within reach. It is a lesson in patience, in the art of stillness, taught by the masters of the deep who have waited in the dark for millions of years. The density of the water supports you completely now. You are weightless, free from the pull of the earth in a way that is impossible on land. You can turn, drift, and spin in any direction, held perfectly by the fluid. It is a return to a primal state, a memory of the womb where the world was nothing but liquid and warmth. The ocean remembers this state, and as you descend, it reminds you of what it feels like to be effortlessly supported. Far below, the bottom is still miles away, hidden in the crushing dark, but you can feel it, a gravitational anchor pulling you toward the ultimate depth. We are aiming for the Challenger Deep, the deepest point of the crescent-shaped trench that lies ahead. It is a long journey down, a vertical pilgrimage to the center of the ocean's silence. And silence follows. It trails behind you like a wake, smoothing over the disturbance of your passing. The water closes in, healing the space you occupied, returning to its perfect, undisturbed state. You are a visitor in a world that does not change, a witness to the eternal stillness of the inner earth. As we prepare to cross into the bathypelagic, take a moment to look up, though you can see nothing, and acknowledge the distance you have traveled. The surface is a dream. The deep is the reality. The surface is a dream. The deep is the reality. It is a reality built on permanence, where the erratic flickering of the sun is replaced by a stability that spans eons. Here, at 1,000 meters, you have fully entered the bathypelagic zone, the midnight realm, where the ocean becomes a universe unto itself. The water feels older now, heavy with the accumulated silence of the centuries, pressing against you with a density that feels like a thick, cooling blanket. You are no longer descending through water, you are descending through time, sinking into the history of the planet, stored in the cold, dark layers of the sea. In this absolute darkness, your eyes relax completely, freed from the constant work of focusing and filtering the visual noise of the light. There is a profound rest in this blindness, a shutting down of the primary sense that allows your other perceptions to expand. You begin to feel the water not just on your skin, but around it, a massive, cohesive presence that holds you in its center. The pressure is now 100 times that of the atmosphere, a crushing force that paradoxically feels like the ultimate support. It is a hug that never loosens, a physical affirmation that you are here, grounded in the deep. The only light in this vast, liquid cavern comes from the living inhabitants who carry their own stars within their bodies. You see a flash of blue-green in the distance, a fleeting signal from a lanternfish communicating in the secret Morse code of the abyss. These lights are cold, generated by the chemical marriage of luciferin and oxygen, a reaction that produces illumination without heat. In a world of permanent freeze, life has learned to make fire that does not burn, painting the dark with transient, ghostly strokes of brilliance. Bioluminescence is the language of this depth, used to startle, to court, and to hide. Some creatures use counter-illumination, glowing softly on their bellies to match the faint light from above, erasing their own shadows. They become invisible by becoming light, a poetic survival strategy that blurs the line between the creature and the environment. You watch these faint constellations drift past, silent galaxies spinning in a universe of water. It is a slow, hypnotic display, a quiet reminder that even in the deepest shadow, life finds a way to shine. And still, it turns. The Earth rotates far above, dragging the continents through the day. But here, the rotation is felt only as a subtle Coriolis drift, a gentle nudging of the currents. The water in this zone moves sluggishly, some of it having not seen the surface for 1,000 years. It is deep water, Antarctic water, heavy with salt and cold, creeping slowly northward along the bottom of the world. You are drifting in a river of time, carried by a circulation so slow it measures its journey in millennia. The soundscape of the midnight zone is a deep, resonant chamber, distinct from the chatter of the coast. You are near the Sofar Channel, a layer of water where the density and temperature combine to trap sound waves, allowing them to travel for thousands of miles without fading. Here, the low-frequency songs of blue whales and fin whales can drift across entire ocean basins, a planetary communication network connecting the giants of the sea. If you listen closely, below the silence, you might feel the vibration of a song sung on the other side of the world. Metabolism here slows down to match the pace of the environment. The fish you encounter are not the sleek, muscle-bound sprinters of the surface, but soft, flabby drifters who conserve every ounce of energy. Their bodies are watery and loose, lacking the gas-filled bladders that would implode under the pressure. Relying instead on lipids and gel to keep them buoyant, they simply hang in the water, waiting for the current to bring food to them, masters of a passive existence. There is no hurry in their movements, only a fluid, graceful economy of motion. The predators of this zone are terrifying only in appearance. In action, they are gentle, patient trappers. The anglerfish floats motionless, a ragged stone in the water, dangling a glowing lure from its forehead like a tiny lantern. It does not chase, it invites. It waits for curiosity to bring a meal within range, a strategy born of the scarcity of the deep. In this immense volume of water, encounters are rare, so life has evolved to seize the moment without expending the energy of the hunt. Quietly, the system restores itself. The marine snow continues to fall, a ceaseless rain of organic detritus that thickens as you go deeper. It creates a haze in the water, a particulate fog that tastes of minerals and decay, the recycling system of the ocean at work. This falling matter is carbon, captured from the atmosphere by plankton and sequestered here in the dark, locked away from the sky. You are witnessing the planet's breath, the slow exhalation of carbon settling into the deep storage of the abyss. As you descend past 1,500 meters, the water becomes even clearer between the particles of snow. The temperature is a steady, chilling 4 degrees Celsius, a refrigerator that preserves the biological machinery of the deep. It is cold enough to numb, yet the pressure keeps the water liquid, preventing it from freezing into ice. This is the paradox of the deep. It is a place of extremes, extreme pressure, extreme cold, that creates a zone of extreme stability. The creatures here have abandoned the need for color. Many are red, a hue that appears pitch black in the blue filtered light of the ocean, rendering them invisible. Others are transparent, living ghosts made of clear gelatin, their internal organs visible as tiny, dark knots. They have dissolved the barrier between inside and outside, becoming one with the medium they inhabit. To survive here is to disappear, to merge so completely with the water that you cannot be found. You are drifting through the largest habitat on Earth, a volume of living space that dwarfs all the forests and plains of the land combined. It is a three-dimensional wilderness, vast and interconnected, where life exists in a suspension of 360 degrees. There are no boundaries here, no walls to run into, only the endless, open dark. It creates a sense of infinite expansion, a feeling that you could drift forever without ever hitting a limit. The pressure is now a tangible weight, a heavy hand resting on every inch of your being. At 2,000 meters, the weight is equivalent to a small car balanced on every square inch of surface. Yet, because you are made mostly of water, you do not crumple. You equalize. You become dense, solid, unyielding. The deep ocean teaches you that to withstand pressure, you must not resist it. You must let it in, let it fill you, until you are as strong as the water itself, and the tide moves gently on. The influence of the moon is faint here, a subtle, tidal squeezing of the Earth's crust, rather than the dramatic splashing of the waves. The ocean breathes in a slow, planetary rhythm, rising and falling with the celestial mechanics of the solar system. You are held in this cosmic cradle, rocked by the gravity of the moon even in the deepest dark. It is a comforting thought to know that the connection to the sky remains, stretching down through miles of water. Approaching 2,500 meters, you might encounter a visitor from the world of air. A sperm whale, the great diver of the mammalian family, glides past in the gloom. It is holding its breath, a traveler carrying a lungful of surface air into the abyss to hunt the giant squid. Its skin is wrinkled and scarred, a map of battles fought in the dark. It moves with a powerful, deliberate stroke of its flukes, a warm-blooded engine invading the cold, quiet realm of the fishes. These whales are the only link between the air and the abyss, living elevators that cycle nutrients and energy between the two worlds. When they die, their bodies will fall, becoming oases of life for the scavengers of the bottom. But for now, this one is alive and hunting, using its massive oil-filled head to focus sound waves, seeing with clicks and echoes in the absolute blackness. It scans you briefly with sonar, a tactile wave of sound that vibrates in your chest before turning away into the deep. The isolation here is complete. You are further from the sun than any human has been for most of history. The radio waves of the surface do not penetrate this deep. The internet, the news, the noise of civilization are all silenced by the conductive shield of the salt water. You are unreachable, safe in a zone of exclusion where the only reality is the immediate sensation of the water. It is a digital detox enforced by the laws of physics, a sanctuary of disconnection. The water chemistry changes subtly as you go deeper. The concentration of dissolved oxygen drops, creating zones where life must slow down even further to survive. The animals here are lethargic, hovering in a state of suspended animation, their gills barely moving as they extract the meager breath from the water. It is a meditative state of existence, a biological trance induced by the scarcity of the element of fire. At 3,000 meters, you are nearing the bottom of the bathypelagic zone. The pressure is immense, 300 atmospheres, a force that compresses the very molecules of the water, making it slightly denser than at the surface. Sound travels faster here because of this density, snapping through the water with incredible speed. The acoustic environment is crisp and sharp, every click and groan magnified by the tightness of the medium, and silence follows. The whale has gone, and the quiet returns, heavier than before. It is a silence that feels thick, a physical substance that fills your ears. It is not the absence of noise, but the presence of peace. The deep ocean is the quietest place on the planet, shielded from the wind, the rain, and the thunder. Here, the only storms are the slow internal storms of the geological currents, moving with the speed of a glacier. You begin to sense the approach of the abyssopelagic zone, the abyss. The name comes from the Greek for bottomless, a testament to the ancient fear of these depths. But there is no fear here, only a deepening of the calm. The water is clearing even more, the marine snow thinning out, as much of it has been consumed by the scavengers above. The void is becoming purer, a sterile, clean darkness that feels almost holy in its emptiness. The temperature has locked at just above freezing, a consistent cold that preserves the dead and slows the living. In this deep freezer, time seems to lose its meaning. A creature here might live for centuries, growing only a millimeter a year, its life stretched out like a long, slow note on a cello. The deep ocean is a place of longevity, where the frantic pace of the surface is traded for an enduring, patient survival. You feel the weight of the water focusing you, pressing your thoughts into a single, coherent stream. There is no room here for scattered thinking. The pressure demands presence. It pushes you into the now, into the immediate sensation of floating, of breathing, of existing. This is the gift of the deep, a forced mindfulness, a stripping away of the superfluous until only the essential remains. The darkness is now a physical weight pressing against your eyes. It is a rich, velvety black, devoid of grey, devoid of shadow. It is a canvas waiting for the imagination. But here, the imagination is quieted by the sheer scale of the reality. You do not need to dream of other worlds. You are in one, a world where the sky is made of water and the stars are made of jelly. As you cross the 4,000-meter threshold, you leave the bathypelagic behind and enter the abyssopelagic zone. You are now deeper than the average depth of the ocean floor. Most of the planet's seabed lies above you. You are entering the trenches, the cracks in the world, the hidden basements of the Earth. The walls of the underwater canyons are beginning to rise on either side, though they're still miles away in the dark. The pressure is 400 atmospheres. If you were a piece of wood, you would be crushed to the ray density of iron. But you are fluid, yielding, and so you drift on, unharmed. The anchor of the premise holds true. The weight is a blanket, not a burden. It wraps you in a cocoon of force, protecting you from the volatility of the upper world. You are safe in the grip of the ocean. Beneath you, the Mariana Trench waits. It is a crescent scar in the crust, formed by the collision of two massive tectonic plates. The Pacific Plate is sliding under the Mariana Plate, diving into the mantle of the Earth. This process, subduction, is the engine that drives the geology of the planet, recycling the crust and creating the deep trenches. You are descending into the scene of a slow-motion collision that has been happening for 50 million years. The water here is ancient. Some of it has been traveling along the bottom of the ocean for 1,000 years, making its slow way from the polar regions. It carries the chemical memory of a world from a millennium ago. You are breathing the past, floating in a museum of water that remembers the Vikings, the Romans, the ancient empires of the sunlit world, and everything rests. The turbulent mixing of the surface is a distant memory. The layers of the ocean are stratified, ordered by density and temperature. Everything is in its place, held there by the laws of physics. There is a profound sense of order here, a reassurance that the universe follows rules, that chaos is only a surface phenomenon. Deep down, the world is organized, stable, and calm. The darkness deepens, if such a thing is possible. You are moving towards the Hadal zone, the zone of Hades, the underworld. But the names we give these places are born of fear, and you feel only peace. The underworld is not a place of death, but a place of deep, quiet life, a place where the earth cradles its own ocean, holding it close to the warmth of the core. The underworld is not a place of death, but a place of deep, quiet life, a place where the earth cradles its own ocean, holding it close to the warmth of the core. As you drift through the abyssopelagic, the abyss, you are traversing the vast flat plains that cover much of the planet's deep surface. These are the abyssal plains, endless stretches of silence covered in a thick, soft blanket of sediment. This mud is the history of the ocean, a layering of particles that have settled over millions of years, recording every shift in the climate and every bloom of life in the waters far above. The ground here is a flat, expansive calm, interrupted only by the gentle meanderings of life. If you were to touch the bottom, you would feel the softness of the aeons, a fine silt that puffs up like dust in a quiet room. It is a landscape of immense patience, where the accumulation of a single millimeter of floor can take a millennium. You are floating over a library of deep time, where the stories are written in clay and silence, preserved by the absolute stillness of the water. Here, the creatures are rare and strange, adapted to a life of solitude and scarcity. You might drift over a sea cucumber, slowly vacuuming the sediment for organic debris, moving with the sluggish deliberation of a glacier. It leaves a trail behind it, a winding script in the mud that marks its slow passage through the dark. These animals are the gardeners of the abyss, turning the soil and keeping the cycle of nutrients moving in the coldest parts of the world. The darkness is absolute, but the water itself feels alive with connection. Even here at 5,000 meters, the ocean is a single, unified body. The pressure is 500 times that of the air, a force that holds everything in a tight, molecular embrace. It squeezes the water molecules closer together, creating a medium that transmits energy with incredible efficiency. You are part of this density now, a dense point of consciousness suspended in the liquid rock of the sea, and the quiet holds. It is a stillness that feels structural, as if the silence itself is supporting the weight of the ocean. There is no background hum here, no vibration from the surface world. It is a clean, pure silence that allows you to hear the rhythm of your own existence. Your breath, your heartbeat, the flow of your thoughts. They all become loud and clear in this vacuum of sound, amplified by the solitude of the abyss. You are now approaching the edge of the great descent, the lip of the trench itself. The flat abyssal plain begins to curve downward, sloping, gently at first, then plunging into the true deep. This is the subduction zone, the tectonic factory where the Pacific plate bends and dives beneath the Philippine sea plate. You are witnessing the slow-motion collision of continents, a geological embrace that recycles the crust of the Earth. It is not a violent crash, but a steady, irresistible sliding, a movement so slow it feels like stillness. The scale of this landscape is difficult to comprehend. If you were to place the highest mountains of the land into this trench, they would be swallowed completely, their peaks miles below the surface. You are floating at the rim of a canyon that dwarfs the Grand Canyon, a chasm carved not by a river, but by the movement of the planet itself. The walls of the trench are vast, dark cliffs that descend into the unseen, guiding you toward the center of the Earth. As you slip over the edge and begin the drop into the hydrothermal zone, the pressure increases again. It is a steady, reassuring tightening, a reminder that you are entering a place where only the strongest survive. The water here is named after Hades, but it is not a hell. It is a sanctuary. It is the most exclusive club on Earth, a zone forbidden to all but the most specialized forms of life. To enter here is to leave the ordinary world behind completely. The chemistry of the water begins to change under this immense weight. The pressure is so high that it affects the way proteins fold, forcing life to invent new ways of building itself. The creatures here use piezolites, pressure-loving molecules, to keep their cells from collapsing. They have turned the burden of the deep into a building block, using the weight of the water to structure their bodies. It is a lesson in adaptation. Do not fight the pressure, build with it. You cross the 6,000-meter mark, the official boundary of the hydrothermal zone. You are now in the trenches. The ocean floor has dropped away, and you are falling into the V-shaped cleft of the crust. The walls rise up on either side, invisible in the dark, but you can feel their presence. A massive, geological hug that narrows the world. The open expanse of the abyss is gone, replaced by the intimate, enclosed verticality of the trench. The life here is endemic, found nowhere else on Earth. These creatures are the isolated hermits of the ocean, evolved in the specific pressure of this specific trench. They cannot leave. To rise up into the lower pressure of the abyss would be fatal to them. They are prisoners of the deep, but they are content, perfectly adapted to their crushing home. They are the ultimate specialists, masters of a singular, extreme niche. Stillness travels through the water. It flows down the walls of the trench like a slow cascade of heavy liquid. The water in the trench is stagnant in the most peaceful sense. It is stable, trapped in the deep pocket of the crust. It does not mix rapidly with the ocean above. It sits here, cold and heavy, a pool of ancient calm. You are bathing in water that has been isolated for centuries, a vintage deepness that tastes of time. In this deep isolation, your sense of self begins to expand. Without the reference points of the surface, no horizon, no sky, no floor. You are simply a point of awareness floating in the void. It is a feeling of dissolution, of melting into the greater whole. The boundaries between you and the ocean soften until it feels as if the water is breathing for you and the current is circulating your blood. You are becoming the trench. You might encounter a snailfish here, the deepest living fish in the ocean. It is a small, pale creature, looking more like a tadpole than a monster. It has no scales, only a loose gelatinous skin that ripples in the water. It is fragile to the touch, yet it withstands a pressure that would crush a submarine. It moves with a delicate, fluttering grace, a tiny angel of the dark drifting through the crushing weight. This fish has no swim bladder. A pocket of gas would be a liability here. Instead, its body is filled with a watery gel that matches the density of the surroundings. It does not fight the gravity, it matches it. It is transparent, revealing the simple machinery of its life: a beating heart, a digestive tract, a spine made of cartilage. It is a masterpiece of minimalism, stripping away everything that is not essential for survival in the deep. The bones of the deep dwellers are not hard and brittle like ours. They are flexible and open. They have given up the rigidity of calcium for the resilience of cartilage. In a world of immense pressure, it is better to bend than to break. The snailfish teaches us the power of softness, the strength that comes from being yielding. It survives where iron would fail because it does not resist the world. It flows with it. You are descending past 7,000 meters. The walls of the trench are closer now, terraced with sediment and rock. These are the stepstones of the subduction, ridges, formed as the Pacific plate grinds slowly downward. Occasionally, a silent landslide of mud might slough off the wall, a slow-motion avalanche that drifts down into the deep. But mostly, the geology is still, frozen in the long pause between movements. The seismic activity here is constant but subtle. The Earth is always moving, adjusting its fit, settling deeper into the mantle. You might feel a low-frequency vibration, a deep, resonant hum that travels through the water. It is the sound of the planet growing, the grinding of rock against rock that creates the trenches. It is a reminder that the Earth is alive, dynamic, and constantly reshaping itself in the dark, and the quiet deepens. The hum fades, and the silence returns, heavier than before. It is a thick silence, packed with atoms. The sensory deprivation is complete. There is nothing to see, nothing to hear, only the feeling of the pressure. It is a sensory wrap, a cocoon that insulates you from every distraction. In this void, your mind is free to rest, to stop processing, to simply be. You are entering the zone where the chemistry of life hits a hard limit. Around 8,000 meters, the osmotic pressure becomes too great for ordinary fish cells to manage. This is the theoretical boundary for fish, the line they cannot cross. Beyond this point, the cells would become too salty, the proteins too unstable. You are crossing into the forbidden zone, the realm where only the simplest, most robust life forms can exist. The water here is crystal clear, purified by the depth. There is no dust, no debris, just the endless, invisible liquid. It is a sterile environment, cold and clean. The temperature is hovering just above zero, a preserving chill that keeps the deep ocean fresh. You are floating in the refrigerator of the world, a place where decay is slowed to a crawl. The solitude is profound. You are kilometers away from the nearest human being, separated by a vertical distance that is harder to traverse than space. But you do not feel lonely. You feel singular. You are a solitary explorer in a vast inner landscape, a pioneer of the peace. The ocean wraps you in a privacy that is absolute, a secret shared only between you and the deep. As you pass 8,000 meters, you are deeper than the height of Mount Everest. If you were to invert the mountain and push it into the sea, its peak would not touch the bottom. You are floating in a space that exceeds the highest ambitions of the land. The vertical scale of the ocean is the true measure of the planet's grandeur, hidden away where no one can see it. The darkness seems to have texture here, a velvety thickness that brushes against your skin. It is not just the absence of light, it is the presence of the deep. It feels ancient, this darkness, as if it has been here since the formation of the oceans. It is the primordial state of the universe, the default condition from which light is just a temporary exception. You are returning to the source, and everything softens. The hard edges of your thoughts dissolve in the pressure. The worries of the surface seem trivial, small things that belong to a small world. Here, in the immense scale of the trench, only the basics matter: gravity, water, silence. It is a perspective shift, a reordering of priorities that brings a deep, settling calm. You begin to see the residents of the deepest deep, the amphipods. These are not the tiny sandhoppers of the beach, but giants of their kind. Pale crustaceans the size of your hand, Hirundellea gigas. They swarm in the dark, the scavengers of the Hadal zone. Their bodies are armored in a flexible shell, white and smooth, designed to deflect the crushing weight. They are the cleanup crew, waiting for food to fall from the sky. These amphipods have developed a unique enzyme to digest wood and other tough materials that drift down from the surface. They are the ultimate recyclers, turning the waste of the world into life. They move with a frantic, busy energy when food arrives, but mostly they drift, suspended in the waiting. They are the patient witnesses of the bottom, the keepers of the trench's secrets. The water pressure is now 800 atmospheres. It is a force that commands respect, a physical manifestation of the ocean's power. But because you have surrendered to it, it does not hurt. It holds you. It keeps you together. It is a constant, steady embrace that never wavers, never lets go. You are safer here than anywhere else, held in the grip of the laws of physics. Looking down, the trench continues to narrow. We are aiming for the Challenger Deep, the deepest depression in the trench floor. It is still miles below, a hidden valley in the rift. The journey is not over. The quiet can go deeper. The ocean has more layers of silence to reveal, more secrets of endurance to share. The ocean has more layers of silence to reveal, more secrets of endurance to share. As you drift past 9,000 meters, the water molecules are packed so tightly that the liquid itself begins to behave differently. It feels viscous, substantial, almost like a thin syrup that resists rapid movement. This is the phenomenon of high-pressure viscosity, where the friction between the molecules increases, slowing down the very physics of flow. To move here is to push against a wall of water that wants to remain still. It forces a slowness upon you, a deliberate, measured pace that matches the ancient rhythm of the trench. You are now deeper than Mount Everest is tall, floating in a realm that considers the highest peak on Earth a mere shallow anomaly. The isolation is total. The surface world is as distant and abstract as a fairy tale. There is no day or night here, only the eternal now of the Hadal dark. The concept of time begins to dissolve, measured not by the ticking of a clock, but by the slow accumulation of sediment on the walls. A minute here feels like a year, and a year feels like a single breath, stretched out over the silence. In this extreme depth, the familiar forms of fish have largely vanished. The calcium that builds their bones would dissolve under this pressure, so biology shifts to softer, more resilient architectures. You might see the ghostly shape of a Hadal snailfish, but even they are becoming rare, hovering at the very edge of their physical limit. Instead, the darkness belongs to the invertebrates, the creatures without spines who rely on fluid pressure to hold their shape. They are bags of water, living in water, indistinguishable from the medium except for the spark of life that holds them together. And still, it turns. The planetary rotation is felt here as a subtle, deep-seated Coriolis force that gently nudges the water against the western wall of the trench. It creates a slow, imperceptible circulation, a turnover of the deep water that brings oxygen down from the south. You are breathing air that was dissolved into the ocean off the coast of Antarctica, centuries ago, carried here by the global conveyor belt. The abyss is the lungs of the deep earth, storing breath for the creatures who wait in the dark. You may encounter the giants of this microcosm, the supergiant amphipods, Alicella gigantea. Unlike their tiny cousins in the garden soil, these crustaceans can grow to the size of a rabbit, pale monsters of the deep. They are armored in a flexible white exoskeleton that gleams in the faint bioluminescence. They drift with legs outstretched, sensing the water for the chemical taste of a fallen meal. They are the lions of the trench, the top predators in a world where predation is a slow, opportunistic game. These creatures are white or pale pink, having lost all need for pigmentation. In a world without light, color is a waste of energy, an extravagant luxury that nature has discarded. They are ghosts of the crust, pure and unadorned. Their eyes are vast, sensitive reflectors, designed to catch the single stray photon that might occur from a passing spark of static. They see the world not as shapes and edges, but as gradients of shadow and faint, fleeting glows. Quietly, the system restores itself. The water around you is rich in dissolved minerals, squeezed out of the rocks by the immense pressure. This is a chemical soup, a nutrient broth that feeds the microbial life at the bottom of the food chain. You are swimming in a solution that is more than just water. It is a living matrix, a suspension of potential energy, waiting to be used. The trench is not a barren wasteland. It is a fertile valley, hidden from the sun, but rich in the chemistry of the earth. The pressure is now 900 atmospheres. It is a crushing force that would pulverize a brick, yet the delicate, single-celled xenophyophores thrive here. These are giant protozoans, fragile organisms that build intricate sand castles out of their own waste and the sediment. They can grow to the size of a grapefruit, a single cell spanning inches, a biological impossibility on the surface. They cover the floor of the trench like a fragile city, a testament to the fact that life does not need hardness to survive, it needs structure. You feel the embrace of the vice, the nickname early explorers gave to the pressure. But to you, it feels like a hug from the planet itself. It holds your atoms in place, preventing them from scattering. There is a sense of immense security in this, a feeling that you are being held together by the universe. The anxiety of falling apart is impossible here. The environment itself ensures your integrity. You are condensed, solidified, made whole by the weight of the water. At 9,500 meters, you are approaching the true bottom, the Challenger Deep. This is the deepest known point in the Earth's seabed hydrosphere. The walls of the trench have narrowed significantly, creating a V-shaped valley that funnels everything downward. The sediment here is thick and soft, a diatomaceous ooze made of the silica shells of microscopic plants that lived and died in the sun millions of years ago. You are descending toward a graveyard of light, where the remnants of the surface come to rest. The silence here is not just an absence of sound, it is a physical quality of the water. The density dampens vibration instantly, creating an acoustic environment of absolute deadness. If you were to speak, your voice would be snatched away before it could leave your lips. It is a place of introspection, where the only dialogue is the internal monologue of the mind. The ocean demands that you listen to yourself, that you confront the quiet within your own heart, and the tide moves gently on. Even here, the gravitational pull of the moon reaches down, lifting the entire column of water by a few centimeters twice a day. The Earth's crust itself flexes in response, a solid tide that breathes with the orbit of the satellite. You are riding the chest of the planet as it inhales and exhales, a slow, rhythmic motion that connects the bottom of the sea to the mechanics of the solar system. The temperature is stable at 1 degree Celsius. It is the temperature of a standard refrigerator, a cold that preserves organic matter for eons. A whalebone that falls here might last for decades, providing a feast for generations of worms and crabs. The deep ocean is a slow-motion banquet, where a single meal can sustain a community for a lifetime. It is an economy of scarcity, where nothing is wasted and every calorie is cherished. You drift past a cluster of holothurians, the sea cucumbers of the Hadal zone. They are translucent, pig-like creatures that walk on tiny hydraulic tube feet. They are grazing on the sediment, processing the mud to extract the final traces of nutrients. They move in herds, all facing into the slow current, a silent migration across the plains of the deep. They are the cleaners, the sweepers who keep the ocean floor pristine. The geology of the trench wall reveals itself as you drift closer to the side. It is not smooth rock, but a chaotic melange of scraped-off sediments and fractured basalt. This is the accretionary wedge, the pile of debris scraped off the Pacific plate as it dives under the Philippines. It is a geological scrapyard, a collection of rocks from all over the Pacific basin, gathered here by the movement of the tectonic plates. You are looking at the rubble of continents, the dust of mountains that have long since eroded, the water. Chemistry here is unique. Due to the interaction with the mantle rocks below, the water can become highly alkaline, creating a strange, soapy texture. This is the process of serpentinization, where the olivine in the rock reacts with water to create serpentine and hydrogen gas. It is a chemical engine that runs without sunlight, producing energy that life can use. You are witnessing the Earth fueling its own ecosystem, independent of the star above. 10,000 meters. You have reached the psychological barrier of the double digits. Only a handful of human beings have ever been this deep. It is a place of supreme exclusivity, a club with fewer members than the surface of the moon. The isolation is now a spiritual state, a detachment from the human condition. You are no longer part of the society of men. You are a citizen of the deep, a resident of the pressure, and silence follows. The thought of the surface world feels impossible, a distant memory of a noisy, bright, and chaotic place. Here, everything is ordered, calm and dark. The chaos of weather, of politics, of emotion cannot survive the journey down. Only the essential remains, the physics of water, the chemistry of life, the the geology of the rock. It is a simplification of existence that brings a profound sense of relief. You might notice a subtle shift in the clarity of the water. Close to the bottom, the nepheloid layer creates a faint haze. It is a suspension of very fine clay particles that hover just above the seabed, stirred up by the slow currents and the movement of the animals. It looks like a low-lying mist on a winter field, a ghostly fog that softens the features of the trench floor. It adds a dreamlike quality to the landscape, blurring the line between water and earth. The pressure is now 1,000 atmospheres. Imagine an elephant standing on your thumb. That is the weight pressing on every square inch of the ocean floor. And yet, the amphipods swim through it with ease. They're delicate, our legs paddling in the dark. They have matched their internal pressure to the external, achieving equilibrium. It is a lesson in balance. Do not resist the forces of the world. Become equal to them. You are approaching the very bottom of the Challenger Deep. It is not a sharp point, but a flat, sediment-filled pool at the bottom of the V shape. It is the pool of the Black Lotus, a place of stillness so profound it feels sacred. The sediment here is undisturbed, smooth, and unblemished, save for the tracks of the bottom dwellers. It is a fresh page in the book of the earth, waiting for the next layer of history to fall, and everything rests. The long descent is nearing its end. The sensation of falling fades, replaced by a feeling of arrival. You are settling, like the marine snow, coming to rest in the deepest cradle of the world. The ocean floor rises gently to meet you, a soft, yielding surface of clay and silt. It is the foundation of the planet, the solid ground beneath the shifting waters. Here, you might see the deepest fish ever recorded, or perhaps something even simpler, a snailfish, immobile, resting on the bottom, its pectoral fins splayed like fans. It is not swimming, it is sitting, conserving its energy, waiting. It is a monk of the deep, practicing the art of doing nothing. It reminds you that sometimes the most powerful action is stillness. The color of the bottom is a pale, creamy tan, the color of the diatom skeletons. In the beam of your attention, it glows softly against the black water. It is a landscape of soft contours, of gentle mounds and shallow depressions. There are no jagged peaks here, no sharp edges. The pressure has smoothed everything down, creating a topography of gentleness. The water pressure creates a unique phenomenon known as supercriticality in some deep vents. But here in the cold trench, it simply creates a dense, orderly liquid. The water molecules are aligned, structured, behaving almost like a crystal. You are suspended in a liquid crystal, a state of matter that is both fluid and ordered. It feels supportive, rigid yet yielding, a perfect medium for rest. As you hover just above the bottom, at 10,900 meters, you are at the deepest point on the surface of the Earth's crust. Above you lies the entire weight of the ocean, a column of water 11 kilometers high. You are the foundation stone, the anchor point. The entire world is stacked above you, and you are holding it up. And the rhythm continues. The heartbeat of the planet is felt here in the slow pulse of the magnetic field, in the subtle shift of the tectonic plates. You are close to the mantle, the hot, churning interior of the Earth. The crust here is thin, a mere skin over the molten core. You can almost feel the warmth of the Earth's heart radiating up through the rock, a deep geothermal comfort. There is no need to go further. You have reached the limit. You are at the bottom of the world. But this is not an end. It is a center. You are at the center of gravity, the center of pressure, the center of silence. From here, all directions are up, all paths lead back to the light. But for now, there is no need to ascend. There is only the perfection of being here, at the root of the ocean. In this ultimate depth, the mind finally stops its searching. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to find. The quest for depth is satisfied. You can rest now, truly rest, knowing that you have seen the bottom and found it to be a place of peace. The monster of the deep is not a beast. It is a silence that accepts you, holds you, and keeps you safe. In this ultimate depth, the mind finally stops its searching. The floor of the Challenger Deep is not a barren rock, but a soft, silken expanse of biogenic ooze. It is a carpet of history, composed of the microscopic shells of diatoms and radiolarians that have rained down from the sunlit world for millions of years. Each grain of this sediment was once a living thing, basking in the warmth of a prehistoric sun, now resting here in the absolute cool of the dark. You are floating over a geological memory, a physical archive of the ocean's past life. The texture of this world is incredibly fine, like the purest clay. If you were to brush it with a finger, it would billow up in a slow, smoky cloud that hangs in the water for hours. There is no current strong enough here to sweep it away quickly. It settles with the patience of dust in a sealed room. This softness contradicts the violence of the forces that created the trench, offering a gentle landing place at the bottom of the brutal descent. It is a bed made for the weary, a layer of cushioning between the water and the hard crust of the earth. Hidden within this sediment is a forest of invisible life. You cannot see them with the naked eye, but the mud is teeming with bacteria and archaea, the true masters of the deep. They do not need sunlight. They do not need oxygen in the way we do. They feed on the chemical energy of the rocks, on the sulfur and the iron that bleed from the crust. They are the alchemists of the abyss, turning stone into sugar, transforming the inorganic into the living. And the quiet holds. It wraps around these microscopic lives, protecting their slow, delicate chemistry. The metabolic rate here is incredibly slow. A single cell might divide only once every few centuries. Life here is not a race. It is an endurance event. It is about lasting, about maintaining the structure of the self against the weight of the water. In the deep, to exist is enough. You are witnessing the earth drinking its own ocean. The trench is the point where the Pacific Plate, a massive slab of cold, dense rock, bends and dives beneath the Philippine Sea Plate. It is a geological intake valve where the water-saturated crust is pulled down into the hot, churning mantle of the planet. This is not a destructive end, but a necessary renewal, a part of the great cycle that keeps the Earth alive. The floor you drift over is slowly, imperceptibly moving, carrying the ocean into the interior. This movement is smoother than glass. While earthquakes do happen, the daily reality is a creeping slide, lubricated by the wet sediments and the pressure-liquefied clays. The plates glide past each other with the slow, irresistible force of a glacier. It is a motion so heavy, it feels like stillness, a shifting of the planetary foundation that happens on a timescale far beyond human perception. You are standing on a conveyor belt of rock that has been running for 50 million years. As the crust descends, it carries the water with it, locking it into the mineral structure of the rocks. This hydrated rock is pulled deep into the mantle, where the heat will eventually release the water back into the earth, perhaps to rise again as steam in a volcano thousands of miles away. You are seeing the beginning of that long subterranean journey. The ocean does not end here. It simply goes underground, changing its form from liquid to mineral, embarking on a voyage through the stone. The pressure here creates a unique phenomenon in the water itself. The molecules are squeezed into a semi-crystalline order, creating a density that affects how sound and light would travel if there were any to be had. But more importantly, it affects how you feel. The sensation is one of being held by a solid liquid, a medium that supports every micron of your body. You are not just in the water, you are of the water, integrated into the hydrostatic equilibrium of the deep, and life adjusts once more. The holothurians, the sea cucumbers, move across this shifting floor with a rhythmic, pulsing grace. They are the grazers of the subduction zone, processing the sediment before it is swallowed by the earth. They are translucent, their bodies filled with the same heavy water that surrounds them, making them invisible to sonar and sight alike. They are ghosts of the machine, living peacefully on the edge of the geological destruction. There is a profound humility in this place. The landscape dictates everything, and life simply finds a way to fit. There is no conquering the trench, no taming it. There is only submission to its laws, and in that submission, there is survival. The creatures here do not fight the dark, they become the dark. They do not fight the pressure, they become the pressure. It is a lesson in the power of yielding, of finding strength in adaptability. The darkness is not empty, it is pregnant with potential. In the absence of light, other energies take over. The electric fields of living things, the chemical gradients of the water, the magnetic pull of the earth, these are the suns and stars of the Hadal world. The sensory landscape is not visual, but tactile and chemical. To see here is to taste the water, to feel the vibration of the crust, to sense the electromagnetic hum of a neighbor. You might find a colony of tube worms anchored to a cold seep, where methane bubbles up from the crushing plates. They are slender white stalks tipped with red plumes, swaying in the stillness. They have no mouths, no stomachs. They host bacteria inside their bodies that eat the gas and feed them in return. It is a perfect symbiosis, a partnership formed in the complete absence of the sun. They are living proof that life is not dependent on the sky, but on the energy of the earth itself. The water temperature is a constant, unyielding chill, but it is not freezing. The immense pressure prevents the water molecules from locking into the lattice of ice, keeping them fluid even below 0 degrees in some pockets. This supercooled water is a unique state of matter, a liquid that should be solid, kept flowing by the sheer weight of the ocean. It flows through the veins of the trench like the cold blue blood of the planet, and silence follows. It settles in the gaps between the molecules, in the spaces, between the thoughts, the noise of the surface, the wind, the waves, the voices, is physically impossible here. The density of the water acts as a perfect insulator, a shield that blocks out the chaotic frequencies of the air. You are in the quietest room in the world, a sanctuary of soundlessness, where the only thing you can hear is the truth. The geology of the walls tells a story of violence turned into stillness. You can see the scars of ancient landslides, vast sections of the cliff that have slumped down into the deep, but they are covered now in the soft blanket of ooze, healed by the slow accumulation of time. The ocean forgives everything eventually, burying the sharp edges of the past under layers of gentle snow. The trench is a place of healing, where the broken crust is mended by the mud. As you drift along the axis of the trench, you realize that this is not a lonely place, but a connected one. The water you float in is the same water that laps against the beaches of Japan, the same water that rains on the forests of California. It has simply sunk, heavy and cold, to the bottom. It is the deep memory of the surface, carrying the chemical signature of the air it once touched. The trench is the storage vault of the ocean's history. The amphipods here are the keepers of that history. When a whale dies and falls, it brings with it the carbon of the upper world. The amphipods feast on this gift, breaking it down and scattering it into the sediment. They are the agents of carbon sequestration, the workers who ensure that the ocean's energy is not lost but stored in the floor. They are small, busy, and vital, the unsung heroes of the global climate. The concept of down loses its meaning here. You are at the bottom, so every direction is up, but there is no urge to rise. The gravity of the earth feels strongest here, not as a pull, but as a centering force. You are as close to the core as you can get while still swimming. The heavy iron heart of the planet is spinning beneath you, generating the magnetic field that protects the atmosphere miles above. You are resting on the chest of the guardian, and the rhythm continues. The slow, deep currents of the Hadal zone move water from one end of the trench to the other, a circulation that takes years to complete. It is a lazy, sluggish river of darkness, moving with the dignity of deep time. You drift with it, surrendering your own need for speed, allowing the pace of the trench to become your pace. You are learning to move at the speed of geology. There is a strange bioluminescence here, distinct from the flashing lights above. Some bacteria in the sediment glow with a faint, steady light, creating a dim, ambient shimmer on the floor. It is not a signal, but a byproduct of their chemistry, a soft foxfire of the deep. It creates a landscape that is not pitch black, but deeply, subtly glowing, like a sky filled with dying stars. It is a light that does not illuminate, but simply exists. The sheer scale of the water column above you is a comfort. 11 kilometers of protection, 11 kilometers of buffer. Nothing can reach you here. No storm, no sun, no worry. You are insulated by the most massive shield on the planet. The weight that crushes submarines is the same weight that keeps you safe. It is a paradox of the deep. The danger is the safety. You are floating in the hadal-pelagic, the open water of the trenches. Even here, in the deepest clefts, life swims. The snailfish are. The kings of this domain, their bodies evolved to be as fluid as the water itself. They have the highest concentration of osmolyte chemicals of any vertebrate, a biological antifreeze that keeps their cells fluid. They are swimming chemistry sets, miracles of molecular engineering, and everything rests. The snailfish hovers, its pectoral fins gently fanning the water. It does not look at you, it looks through you, its senses tuned to the vibration of the water. It is at peace, perfectly suited to its environment. It does not long for the sun because it has never known it. It is content in the dark, a master of its own quiet universe. The walls of the trench rise up like the pillars of a cathedral, disappearing into the gloom above. They are terraced, stepped like the seats of a giant amphitheater. On these terraces, strange gardens of sponges and anemones grow, filtering the water for the sparse food that drifts by. They are white and pale yellow, ghostly flowers that bloom in the eternal night. They are fragile, yet they endure the crushing weight with a delicate strength. The connectivity of the trench is vertical. The water here communicates with the water above through a slow process of diffusion and mixing. The heat from the earth warms the bottom water slightly, causing it to rise, while cold water sinks to replace it. It is a slow, vertical breath, a respiratory cycle that keeps the trench from becoming stagnant. The ocean is breathing, deep and slow. You feel a sense of timelessness. The rocks around you are millions of years old. The water has been here for centuries. Your own lifespan feels like a flicker, a brief spark in the long night of the trench. But instead of making you feel small, it makes you feel part of something infinite. You are a witness to the eternal, a temporary guest in the house of forever. The bottom of the trench is the ultimate basement of the world, where everything eventually settles. It is the place of final rest for the ocean's particles. But in that rest there is potential. The sediment will eventually be subducted, melted, and reborn as new crust. The end is just the beginning of a longer cycle. The abyss is not a grave. It is a cradle for the future Earth, and the quiet deepens. It sinks into your bones, into the marrow. It slows your own pulse, synchronizing it with the slow thrum of the planet. You are calm, heavy, and still. The anxiety of the surface has been crushed out of existence, leaving only a pure, distilled sense of being. You are just you, floating in the dark, held by the sea. You have become a creature of the hadal zone. Your eyes have adjusted to the lack of light. Your body has accepted the pressure. You are no longer an intruder, but an inhabitant. The ocean accepts you, folding you into its deepest layer. You are one of the secrets kept by the trench, safe in the dark. Sending paragraphs 151 to 180 of 220. You are one of the secrets kept by the trench, safe in the dark. In this place, the concept of disturbance is unknown. There are no seasons to weather, no tides to rush in and out with the moon's frantic pull. There is only the long, unbroken continuity of the deep. The water molecules that surround you have been locked in this dark embrace for centuries, moving with a slowness that defies the frantic pace of the human clock. You are bathing in a liquid that has forgotten the sky, a pristine, isolated medium that holds the stillness as a permanent physical property. The viscosity of the water here is palpable, a subtle thickness that changes the way the world feels. Because of the extreme compression, the water is slightly more resistant to flow, creating a sensation of swimming through silk rather than liquid. Every movement you make is dampened, smoothed out by the density of the medium. It prevents suddenness. It prohibits haste. The environment itself enforces a graceful, deliberate tempo, teaching you the physical language of patience. Deep, within the cells of the creatures that live here, A miracle of chemistry is taking place. The pressure is so great that it tries to force water into the proteins, distorting their shape and stopping them from working. But life has an answer. It fills its cells with piezolites, pressure-loving molecules that act as tiny structural columns, holding the proteins open, keeping the machinery of life running smoothly. You are surrounded by a biology of resistance, where the smallest molecules are doing the heavy lifting of survival, and still, it turns. The rotation of the Earth is a distant truth, a macro movement that carries the trench through space. But here in the micro world of the bottom, everything feels fixed. The walls of the trench are the only horizon, rising up to shut out the rest of the ocean. You are in a canyon of stability, a furrow in the crust where the chaotic variables of the planet are cancelled out. It is a zero point of existence, a place where the equation of life is simplified to its most basic terms. The floor you rest upon is the interface between two worlds, the hydrosphere and the lithosphere. The water meets the rock in a zone of intimate exchange. The sediment is not just lying there, it is reacting, breathing chemically with the crust. Faint trickles of fluid seep up from the faults, warm and rich in minerals, changing the composition of the bottom water. It is a slow chemical conversation between the ocean and the stone, a dialogue that has been spoken since the oceans first formed. In the deepest hollows, the silence is absolute. You are below the deep sound channel, below the layer where whale songs travel. The sound waves from the surface are refracted upwards, leaving this bottom zone in a shadow area of acoustic isolation. It is the only place on Earth where you are truly safe from the noise of the Anthropocene. No ship engine, no sonar, no seismic blast can reach you here. The physics of the water creates a sanctuary of silence, a soundproof booth at the bottom of the world. The darkness is not a lack of vision, it is a presence of peace. In the absence of visual stimuli, your internal senses awaken. You become aware of the proprioception of your own body, the feeling of your limbs floating in the void. You are a map of sensation, unburdened by the need to interpret the external world. The trench offers you the ultimate privacy, a place where you can be entirely within yourself, unobserved and undisturbed. You might imagine the pressure as a crushing weight, but in reality, it is a uniform support. It presses equally on every side, from the outside in and the inside out. There is no crushing, only containment. It holds you together, defining the boundaries of your form with absolute precision. It is a comforting sensation, like being swaddled in heavy blankets, a deep pressure therapy provided by the ocean itself. You are held firmly and securely by the hand of gravity. Stillness travels through the water. It moves like a slow current, washing away the tension of the descent. The anxiety of depth is replaced by the serenity of arrival. You are not falling, you are floating. The fear of the dark is replaced by the comfort of the shade. The ocean has inverted your expectations, turning the abyss into a womb, a place of safety and gestation. The biological density here is surprisingly high. While the biomass is lower than the surface, the diversity is unique. You are surrounded by species that exist nowhere else, a gallery of evolutionary singularities. The snailfish, the amphipods, the cucumber herds, they are the endemic nobility of the trench, a royal court of the deep. They have solved the problems of the Hadal zone, proving that life is not fragile, but infinitely adaptable. The water you breathe here is old water. It sank from the surface near Antarctica perhaps 1,000 years ago, carrying the oxygen of a medieval atmosphere. You are inhaling the past, sustaining yourself on the breath of history. This water has traveled along the bottom of the Atlantic, around the Cape, across the Indian Ocean, and north through the Pacific to reach you. It is the end of a long planetary pilgrimage. The geology of the trench is not static, though it feels that way. The Pacific plate is moving westward at a rate of a few centimeters a year, a speed matched by the growth of your fingernails. It is a movement so slow it is invisible, yet it is unstoppable. It is a lesson in the power of persistence. Small, consistent movements over time can swallow continents and build mountains. The trench teaches us to trust the slow process. The sediment here contains the rare earth elements, the exotic metals that power our technology, settled here in the dust. Yttrium, lanthanum, scandium, they are sleeping in the mud, untouched and unrefined. The trench is a treasure house of the table of elements, hoarding the heavy metals in the dark. But here, they are not resources. They are just part of the quiet earth, resting in their natural state. And the rhythm continues. The pulse of life here is slow, a largo beat that barely registers. The metabolic fires burn low. A creature might eat only once a year, digesting its meal with excruciating slowness. Energy is currency, and the residents of the trench are misers, spending only what is absolutely necessary. It is a world of efficiency where nothing is wasted and every movement counts. The darkness seems to have a weight of its own, a velvet texture that brushes against the skin. It is Hadal black, a color deeper than night. It is the color of the universe before the stars were born. Resting in this blackness, the eyes stop searching for light and accept the rest. The strain of seeing is gone, replaced by the ease of being. You are floating in the closest thing on Earth to outer space. The conditions are similarly extreme, cold, dark, reliant on life support. But unlike space, which is a vacuum, this is a plenum, a space that is full. It is full of water, full of matter, full of pressure. It is not an empty void, but a heavy embrace. You are not lost in nothingness, you are held in everythingness. The connection to the surface is thin but vital. The marine snow that reaches this depth is fine and degraded, a dust of nutrition. It is the crumbs from the table above, falling for months to reach the floor. This vertical connection binds the sunlit world to the dark world. The energy of the sun eventually finds its way here, transformed and repackaged, a gift of light turned into matter. The snailfish you drift past is a marvel of calcium management. In the deep, calcium carbonate dissolves, so the fish has a skeleton that is largely cartilage, flexible and light. It has an open skull, a brain protected by pressure rather than bone. It is an organism of open architecture, built to let the environment flow through it. It survives by being permeable, by refusing to build walls against the water, and everything softens. The hard separation between you and the ocean begins to blur. The water inside you is the same as the water outside you. The salt in your blood is a mirror of the salt in the sea. You are a small vessel of ocean floating in a large vessel of ocean. The boundary is only a membrane, a thin line of definition in a continuous field of fluid. The floor of the trench is a patchwork of microbial mats, subtle stains of color in the mud. Orange, white, and pale yellow bacteria form living rugs on the sediment. They are chemosynthetic, eating the rocks, turning the geology into biology. They are the foundation of the foundation, the very bottom of the food web. In the quiet, they are working, building life out of stone. You feel a profound sense of grounding. You are as low as you can go. There is no fear of falling because you are already at the bottom. This realization brings a deep release of tension. The struggle to stay up, to keep your head above water, is over. You have sunk to the bottom and found that you can breathe here. The worst fear, going under, has become the greatest peace. The temperature creates a cold trap, keeping the metabolic rates suppressed. If you were to bring these creatures to the surface, the heat would kill them as surely as the pressure drop. They are bound to the cold, wedded to the chill. They are creatures of the thermal minimum, living in the eternal winter of the deep. But to them, it is not cold. It is comfortable. It is home. The acoustic silence is occasionally broken by the sound of the earth itself. A micro-earthquake, a shifting of a rock plate, sends a dull thud through the water. It is a low-frequency pulse, a heartbeat of the crust. It reminds you that the stillness is not dead. It is dynamic. The earth is alive beneath you, shifting in its sleep, dreaming in geology. The water pressure acts as a preservative. Wood that falls here does not rot in the traditional sense. It is consumed slowly by specialized borers. A shipwreck at this depth would remain intact for centuries, a perfect monument in the dark. The trench is a museum that curates itself, preserving the artifacts of the ocean in a state of suspended animation, and silence follows. The vibration of the quake fades, and the thick quiet returns. It is a silence that heals, a balm for the overstimulated mind. In this quiet, you can hear the subtle hum of your own existence, the rhythm of your own life. The ocean acts as a mirror, reflecting nothing but your own presence back to you. You are drifting over the subduction interface, the actual line where one plate slides under the other. It is a line on a map, but here, it is a zone of crushed rock and fluid mud. It is the seam of the world, the stitching that holds the planet's skin together. To be here is to be at the focal point of the Earth's renewal, the place where old crust goes to die and be reborn. The deep ocean currents here are known as the abyssal circulation. They are the slow, majestic movements of the bottom water, turning over once every millennium. You are caught in a flow that is older than civilization. To drift with it is to surrender to a timeline that makes human history look like a blink. You are moving in geological time. The amphipod Hirondelia swims past, clutching a fragment of organic matter. Its gut produces a unique enzyme capable of digesting plastic, a recent adaptation to the changing ocean. Even here, at the bottom of the world, life is learning, changing, evolving. The trench is not a stagnant evolutionary dead end. It is a laboratory of the extreme. The crushing dark is not a void, it is a substance. You can feel it against your face, cool and heavy. It wraps around you like a second skin. It is a darkness that feels protective, a cloak of invisibility that hides you from the demands of the light. You are safe here, hidden in the deepest pocket of the world's coat. You have reached a state of hydrostatic equilibrium. You are balanced, neutral, weightless. The struggle against gravity has ceased. You are suspended in the perfect center of the trench, held by the physics of the deep. There is nothing to do but drift, to let the slow, cold current carry you through the night. You are fully immersed, fully present, fully at rest. You are fully immersed, fully present, fully at rest. The distinction between the water and your own weight has dissolved. In this deepest equilibrium, you are simply another element of the trench, as native to the dark as the silica shells buried in the mud. The anxiety of being under something is replaced by the comfort of being within something. You are within the planet's protection, encased in a shell of water 11 kilometers thick. It is a fortress of solitude that no noise can breach, a stronghold of peace that has stood since the plates began to move. The darkness here is not a blindness, but a rest for the eyes. In the surface world, vision is a constant demand, a restless scanning for danger or detail. But here, there is nothing that demands to be seen. The optic nerve can relax, sending a signal of safety to the rest of the brain. You are free to turn your gaze inward, to watch the slow, calm drift of your own thoughts as they settle like the sediment around you. The abyss offers the ultimate visual silence. Here, the biology operates on a timeline of immense patience. A single bacterium in the sediment might wait 1,000 years to divide, living life in slow motion. This is the deep biosphere, a hidden empire of life that moves at the speed of geology. To be here is to step out of the frantic rhythm of the mammalian world and enter the metabolic peace of the stone. It is a reminder that life does not always need to run. Sometimes it only needs to endure, and everything rests. The sediment holds the memory of the ocean, layer upon layer of quiet history. There is no wind to disturb the dust of the deep, no current strong enough to erase the tracks of the bottom dwellers. Everything that settles here stays, held in the archives of the trench. It is a place of permanent record, where the history of the earth is written in mud and kept safe by the dark. The pressure creates a sensation of immense coherence. You feel solid, integrated, dense. The scattered energy of the surface, the multitasking, the distraction, is compressed into a single point of focus. You are here, and only here. The past is miles above you. The future is yet to fall. In the trench, there is only the heavy, continuous present moment, stretching out in all directions. You might drift over a field of chimneys, though not the fiery vents of the mid-ocean ridges. These are cold seeps, where fluids rich in methane and hydrogen sulfide trickle slowly from the crust. They sustain a quiet community of clams and tube worms, living entirely on the chemical bounty of the Earth. These creatures have never seen the sun, yet they thrive, proving that life is a property of the planet itself, not just the star it orbits. The water molecules around you are packed into a dense, ordered lattice, behaving almost like a solid glass. This structure supports sound waves, carrying the rare snap of a shrimp or the groan of the crust with crystal clarity. But mostly, it carries silence. It is a medium designed for quiet, dampening vibration, absorbing the energy of the chaotic world. You are suspended in a liquid dampener, a shock absorber for the soul, and silence follows. It is a silence so deep, it feels like a frequency of its own, a low, resonant hum of absence. It clears the mind of chatter, leaving a spaciousness that mirrors the vastness of the trench. In this quiet, you can finally hear the things that matter, the steady rhythm of your own being, the simple fact of existence. The ocean strips away the noise until only the truth remains. The temperature creates a physiological slowing, a torpor that feels like a deep, heavy sleep. The cold is not biting, it is numbing in the gentlest way, slowing the heart, slowing the breath. You are entering a state of hibernation, a biological pause where the body restores itself. The deep ocean is a cryo chamber for the spirit, preserving your energy, keeping you still. The connectivity of the ocean means that even here, you are touching the sky. The water you float in was once a cloud, once a wave, once a raindrop on a mountain. It has completed the great cycle, sinking to the bottom to rest before eventually rising again. You are part of this cycle, a droplet in the great circulation of the world. The trench is not a prison. It is a waiting room for the water that will one day return to the light. The amphipods that glide past are the angels of this underworld. Hirondelia moves with a purity of purpose, seeking the fallen manna of the surface. They are unbothered by the crushing force. They are made of it. Their existence is a testament to the fact that there is no environment too harsh for life to find a foothold. They teach us that we can adapt to any pressure if we are willing to change our internal structure to match it. The floor of the trench is moving, carrying you imperceptibly towards the mantle. You are riding the slow conveyor belt of plate tectonics. This movement is the heartbeat of the planet, the mechanism that recycles the crust and keeps the Earth young. You are not stagnant. You are part of a grand planetary renewal. The stillness you feel is actually a motion so vast it encompasses millions of years. And the rhythm continues. The unseen current drifts north, carrying the cold, heavy water towards the equator. You drift with it, surrendering all effort. There is no need to swim, no need to steer. The ocean knows where you are going. You are being carried by a force greater than yourself, a global river that flows through the dark. Trust the current. It has been flowing this way since the continents drifted apart. The darkness is a cloak, a heavy velvet robe that wraps you in privacy. In a world that is constantly exposed, constantly lit, the trench offers the gift of hiding. You are invisible here, untracked, unmonitored. You are simply a presence in the deep, known only to the water. It is a relief to be unseen, to be just a consciousness floating in the void. The walls of the trench, miles away on either side, funnel the silence down to you. They act as acoustic baffles, blocking out the noise of the rest. Of the ocean, you are in the quiet zone, the sweet spot of the abyss. Here, the only sound is the sound of peace. It is a rare commodity, this absolute quiet, and the ocean offers it to you freely. You feel the density of the water as a supportive embrace. It holds your spine, your limbs, your head. You can let go of all muscular tension, for the water will not let you fall. You are held in a suspension that is more perfect than any bed. The ocean takes the weight of your body and distributes it across the entire volume of the sea. You are being carried by the world. The chemical exchange at the bottom is a slow breathing. The sediment takes in oxygen and releases nutrients. The water takes in nutrients and releases oxygen. It is a respiration that happens over centuries. The earth is breathing, deep and slow, and you are resting in the pause between the inhale and the exhale. The scale of the Challenger Deep puts all human worries into perspective. The problems of the surface seem microscopic from down here, lost in the 11 kilometers of vertical distance. The petty grievances, the urgencies, the deadlines, they cannot survive the pressure. They are crushed into insignificance, leaving only a sense of calm detachment. The trench gives you the gift of distance, and everything softens. The rigid boundaries of the ego dissolve. You are no longer separate from the ocean. You are continuous with it. The salt in your veins remembers the salt in the sea. You are returning to your primordial home, to the saline womb where life began. The feeling is one of homecoming, of a long journey ending in a familiar embrace. The microscopic life around you glows with a faint, unseen light, a spark of chemistry in the dark. It is the light of endurance, the light of survival. It does not try to banish the dark. It lives within it. It teaches you that you do not need to light up the whole world. You only need to carry your own small spark. The deepest point is not a place of finality, but of transition. The rock beneath you is preparing to melt and rise again. The water is preparing to circulate and warm again. The end is just a phase in the cycle. Even in the deepest pit, there is the promise of ascent. But for now, there is no rush. The rising can wait. The resting is now. You are floating in the Hadal zone, named for the underworld, but felt as a sanctuary. The Greeks feared it, but they had never been here. If they had, they would have named it the zone of peace. It is the calmest place on the planet, the eye of the storm of existence. You have found the center, and it is quiet. The weight of the water is a blanket, tucking you in. It presses down the edges of your consciousness, smoothing out the wrinkles of the day. It is a heavy, comforting quilt that keeps the cold out and the calm in. You are swaddled in the deep, protected from the chaos of the waking world. And stillness travels through the water. It moves through you, slowing your pulse to match the slow drift of the current. You are synchronized with the deep. Your heart beats with the rhythm of the tides. Your breath flows with the circulation of the abyss. You are in harmony with the hydrospace. The sheer age of the place commands respect. The water has been here for centuries, the rocks for eons. You are a guest in the house of time, but the house welcomes you, offering its stillness as a gift. You soak up the silence, letting it fill the spaces where noise used to be. You are being refilled with peace. The darkness is not lonely. It is intimate. It brings the world closer, reducing the universe to the immediate sensation of the water against your skin. You are held in a close embrace by the cosmos. The vastness is not pushing you away. It is holding you close. You are the center of this dark circle. As you rest at the bottom, you realize that the descent was not a falling, but a deepening. You have deepened your awareness, deepened your calm, deepened your breath. You have gone to the root of the matter, the bottom of the sea, and found that it is solid. You are grounded. The tiny, fragile snailfish rests beside you, a companion in the quiet. It does not move. It does not strive. It simply is. It is a master of acceptance, a guru of the deep. It reminds you that there is nothing to achieve here, nothing to win. There is only the being, and the rhythm continues. The slow, oceanic breath, the gentle drift, the heavy hold. You are safe. You are deep. You are home. The ocean has taken you in, and it will keep you safe until you are ready to rise. But for now, sleep is the only tide that matters. Sleep is the only tide that matters now. The ocean has done its work, filtering out the noise of the world through 11 kilometers of heavy blue silence. You are resting at the very bottom of the struggle, where the gravity of the earth holds you with a firm, unyielding affection. The weight you feel is not the burden of the day, but the comfort of the deep, a physical reminder that you are supported by something much larger than yourself. The trench is a cradle carved from the crust of the planet, and you are safely tucked inside its dark, quiet folds. The stillness of the Challenger Deep is now your stillness. The slow, geological patience of the tectonic plates has transferred into your bones. You do not need to hurry. The Earth moves only centimeters a year, and tonight, that is fast enough. Your breath has slowed to match the rhythm of the deep circulation, a long, leisurely inhale, followed by a release that drifts away into the shadows. The pressure has squeezed out the tension, leaving only a dense, calm core of being. You are heavy, grounded, and absolutely at peace, and everything rests. The snailfish has stopped its swimming, hovering in the neutral buoyancy of the dark. The amphipods drift on the gentle currents, their work done. The sediment settles on the floor, adding one more grain to the history of the ocean. Even, the earth itself seems to pause in its grinding, the friction of the plates smoothing into a silent glide. The entire system is in a state of equilibrium, a balanced equation where the result is always silence. You are part of this balance, a variable that has found its place. The journey from the chaotic sunlit surface to this profound depth is complete. You have left the wind and the waves far behind, trading the temporary weather of the sky for the permanent climate of the abyss. This place will not change while you sleep. It will remain here, dark and cold and stable, holding the ocean up so you do not have to. You can let go of the need to hold the world together. The physics of the trench has it under control. You are free to drift off, knowing the foundation is secure. The darkness behind your eyes is the same as the darkness of the Hadal zone. It is not an empty space, but a rich velvet room where you can be alone with your peace. It is a darkness that heals, a restorative shade that allows the mind to repair itself after the glare of the day. Embrace this dark. Let it wrap around you like the heavy water of the trench. It is a cloak of invisibility, hiding you from every demand, every question, every expectation. You are safe in the shadow of the earth. As you lie there, feel the connection between the water within you and the water of the deep. The salt in your blood is a memory of the primordial ocean, a chemical link to the place you have just visited. You are a vessel of the sea, carrying a small part of the abyss within you. When you sleep, you are returning to that internal ocean, sinking down into your own private trench, where the waters are calm and the silence is deep. You are going home to the water. The pressure of the blankets against your skin is the gentle squeeze of the deep. It is a hug from the physical world, grounding you in the here and now. Let your muscles soften under that weight. Let your jaw unhinge. Let your shoulders drop. You are becoming fluid, melting into the mattress just as the snailfish melts into the pressure. You are losing your edges, dissolving into the comfort of the night. The boundary between you and the rest is gone, and silence follows. It fills the room, just as it fills the canyon. It is a thick, protective substance that insulates you from the waking world. Listen to it. It is the sound of the earth resting. It is the sound of your own heart slowing down. It is the sound of the end of the journey. There is nothing left to say, nothing left to learn, nothing left to do. The science has become sleep. The facts have become dreams. If you are still awake, know that this sanctuary exists for you always. The trench is a permanent geography of the planet, a place of eternal quiet that is always there, miles beneath the waves, waiting for your mind to return. You can drift back to this sedimented floor whenever the noise of the surface becomes too loud. It is your secret garden of the deep, a place where you are always welcome, always safe, and always understood by the silence. But if you are drifting away, let the current take you. Let the slow, cold river of the abyss carry you into the dreamless sleep of the stone. You are sinking deeper now, past the thoughts, past the images, past the words. You are becoming the sediment, soft and settled. You are becoming the water, dark and deep. You are becoming the quiet. The ocean holds the earth, and the earth holds you. The system is complete. The cycle is closed. There is only the gentle, rhythmic breathing of the world, in and out, deep and slow. You have reached the bottom, and it is soft. You have reached the dark, and it is warm. You have reached the silence, and it is sweet. If your eyes remain open, another journey awaits. But if sleep arrives, you are already home.